So today in this video, I want to talk about what it means from a spiritual standpoint when we say to remember who we are. Because that's a line in a sentence. I don't know if you have ever heard of it, but something that is commonly used. And sometimes, in this physical realm, you do the things, you grow by experiencing and learning different things in life. And many people say, I become somebody. Yeah. And also in the, online space. And when we start engaging in this production of, in the process of entrepreneurship, we also talk about, the outcome that we produce is an extension of who we become, right? The identity that we become is the cause of the result and the outcome that we experience. And what does that becoming means in conjunction with remembering who we are? So I want to talk about the interconnection between the spiritual dimension and the psychology identity. And with an intention of giving you clarity of what exactly we are doing in this physical world. Yeah. I've been on my spiritual path for, oh gosh, it's going to be 3 decades soon. And people think that I'm 28 or 30, right? And I think I'm at the point where I'm very clear and able to clearly explain the mechanism and the dynamic of this life. So the first step that we must understand is this idea of the invisible world and the spiritual dimension, of course. And when we say remembering who we are, means to remember, for the mind to remember, this is important, for the mind to remember that the construct of the identity is not who you are, because let's talk about the construct of identity, the sense of self that you have as an individuality in this physical world was formed after you came here, right? This is an interesting story. The sense of self that you form in this physical life was shaped after you came here, right? But if that sense of self, that personality is who you are, if you assume so, who are you before you started to shape your sense of self? You existed, right? Even when you are in your mother's womb as an embryo, the essence of you existed before you started to shape and form personality, right? So that itself tells us that the personality, the dimension of psychology, the dimension of the mind, the construct of the sense of self in your psyche is not who you are, because you existed before that was shaped. Yeah. This is a very clear explanation, right? I love it myself talking about it. So then the essence and remembering who you are is the first step, is to understand that you are not the mental construct, the sense of self that you're thinking in your mind. You're outside of it. But this is what gets a little bit interesting, because the moment you start thinking and seeing you as somebody, which is another concept outside of it, you're personifying the essence of who you are into a certain concept, right? So the mode of communication that we're having, which is I'm explaining right now in English, you're listening to, right? That is a limited product of the mind. You can feel the soul. You can feel something more than the product of the mind, but it's relatively, this is a good word, relatively confined in the uh, product of the mind. Yeah. But who you are is beyond the construction of the persona that we have shaped in this process of individualize as an individual mind, individual body. Yeah. So the first step to remembering who you are is to know internally that you are beyond that persona. And the only thing that I can say here is that it's something that you intuitively feel and know. It's not something that you can explain in detail. Well, there might be somebody who can explain it, but it's something that you want to tap into to feel. Yeah. Now, that's the first step of the remembering who you are, but there's another step, right? Now, as long as you're in and we are in this physical realm, the psyche is going to be involved and the body is going to be a part of it, right? So, who you truly are is not the mind, is not the body, but who you are can only be expressed and experienced through the mind and the body, right? If you didn't have the body, there's no experience. If you didn't have the mind, there's no expression. So the fundamental you, the totality of who you are, can consist of including the body and the mind to experience and to express an experience. Yeah. Then the journey of remembering who you are, the first step is to know that you're beyond and more than the persona. And the journey of remembering who you are in this physical realm is for the psyche, for the persona to reflect the quality and the essence of who you are at the dimension of the spiritual and the essence of the soul, as much as you're able to in this physical realm. So that is the process of remembering and embodying that remembrance in this moment to moment creative act that we think, we feel, we believe, and we do things, action. Yeah. So demonstrating the quality of the soul, the demonstrating the essence of who we are, the dimension of the soul, through the psyche, the mind, and through the action that we take is the second layer of remembrance, because we are demonstrating the remembrance not just by tuning into the state of the spirit, but to practically living that spiritual dimension, bringing that into the earthly plane is the process of remembering. Does that make sense? Because we want to demonstrate it and we want to integrate it, this physical realm. So then the process of constructing a new identity that reflect the divine self, the Christ consciousness, the the frequency of you that vibrates at the soul essence level is what we are here to demonstrate. And in a certain perspective, you can say that you are becoming, right? You're being and you become. You cannot become while you're being because things are constantly moving. But you can also call that unfoldment of the mind to remember the essence of the soul in that dimension of the psyche, because psyche is the only place that you can express. The body is only place that you can experience. Yeah. So I hope that makes sense. The journey of the soul that came here on earth plane is the journey of remembering, and it is an unfoldment of the soul through the psyche in the physical dimension. And in that process, we're becoming more and more, the psyche and the body is becoming more and more and being closer to the essence of who we are and demonstrating through the psyche, the mind, and in the body. That is the true integration and the full process of remembrance, and that is the unfoldment of the soul in this physical life. Okay, that is it. So let me know if you have any question, any clarification question, comment, anything that resonated with you. That is what really means to remember who we are. There's just two steps. Beyond that personification and to integrate into this physical life experience. See you in the next video.